Hi, I'm Andrew, and today I'm going to discuss the semiotics of Stanley Kubrick's 1980 horror film, The Shining. In preparation of this discussion, I polled some friends on Facebook about their movie watching habits and got 163 responses. These responses will come up as I discuss the film. Why The Shining? Since I have a deep interest in film studies, I tend to view a film in an analytical way. However, this isn't the average viewer's experience. According to my poll, 63% of film viewers just want to be entertained. When asked what their reaction to a film is, 20% say they analyze the film they watch. That's 1 in 5 people that actually consider what they just watched and what the filmmaker is trying to tell them, while 17% say they don't actually think much about it. Stanley Kubrick was not this viewer. He was known as a perfectionist. He had a vision in mind for his film, and he would not let anything get in the way of making it a reality. The interior of the hotel was built specifically for the film. The infamous scene where Jack Nicholson advances up the stairs towards a bat-wielding Shelley Duvall was shot 127 times. And the scene where Danny is told what it means to shine was shot 148 times. With all of these things in mind, this is why The Shining makes a fantastic film to perform a semiotic analysis of. When watching The Shining, one can't help but note the differences between it and a standard horror movie. The rule of thumb in horror is the less you see, the scarier it is. Horror movies are known to be dark and cramped, with tight shots to keep the audience as confused as possible as to where they are and what's happening, which makes Stanley Kubrick's choice to shoot on a 16mm lens, or a wide-angle lens, all the more interesting. This wide angle opens up the shot so that the audience really gets to understand the space. The Overlook Hotel is massive, and the Torrances are all alone. The 16mm lens has another effect when used as a close-up camera. It widens and distorts the features of the subject. This is in stark contrast to the standard 50mm lens used for close-ups, which gives a natural and more beautiful view of the person. By simply watching the film, one may end the film and be confused as to what they just watched. When I polled my audience, the vast majority of people believe the film is about isolation and insanity, which it is. However, films are never simply surface level. There are often 2 or 3 other levels underneath it. There are many theories about what the second layer in The Shining is. Some believe it's about Native American relocation. Some believe it's a confession that Stanley Kubrick helped stage the Apollo moon landing. However, what I'm going to posit through my analysis is that it's about abuse, specifically sexual abuse. I believe that if you use semiotic analysis, it becomes apparent that Jack Torrance sexually abuses his son Danny during the course of the film. I must preface that I am not the first person to posit this theory. I originally heard about this theory from a professor I had during my undergraduate at Marshall University. I have watched the film many times since then and have done some independent research. I've determined that the theory's origin is most likely an article by Robert Auger. The article in question will be linked in the description down below. With that being said, let me put forth the evidence. In a film, there are no throwaway lines. Nothing is filmed by accident. And in a building that was made only for a film, there is no prop that was accidentally brought there. When Jack first interviews for the position of the caretaker of the Overlook Hotel, he's reading a magazine in the hotel lobby. The magazine is a copy of Playgirl magazine. The particular copy has an article titled "Why Parents Sleep with Their Children." And soon after that, we see Danny brushing his teeth in his room. He is leaned over to the right. We get to this scene by a cross dissolve that places Jack's face directly over top of Danny. Keep this framing in mind for a little later. We then get to a scene where Danny is talking to a doctor. As he lays in the bed, a large bear lays behind him, taking up a large part of the frame. This makes a connection between Danny and the bear. This connection is made again later when we see a picture of two bears above Danny's bed in the hotel. Later in the movie, Wendy runs upstairs to find a man in a bear costume giving oral sex to a well-dressed older man on a bed. The bear and the man show up nowhere else in this film. There is a man in a wolf mask in the book of The Shining, but there is no reason why Stanley Kubrick would change this character to a bear for this one throwaway scene, unless he was trying to make a point. If you look at how he is framed, it is comparable to the framing of Danny brushing his teeth. I do believe a psychoanalytic scholar would also make the comparison of the act of giving oral sex to the act of brushing one's teeth. On the topic of psychoanalysis, this helps me determine when and where the assault takes place. I believe the assault takes place within room 237. Jack lures Danny to the room with a tennis ball. The same tennis ball we see him playing with in the lobby, and the only other tennis ball we see in the entire film. Danny wears a phallic Apollo rocket shirt, and as he stands, it rises. It is after this that Jack has a nightmare. He is guilt-ridden. Wendy wakes him up and comforts him, not knowing what her husband has just done. It is only when Danny emerges with torn clothing, sucking on his thumb, that she sees Jack for what he has done. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have learned something about the process of filmmaking or about semiotics of film. Goodbye.